Now, the food delivery service provider Zomato's 9,375 crore share sale via IPO or initial public offering was subscribed 1.05 times on the first day of the issue, according to subscription data. Now, the IPO opened, it closes on Friday, it remains open for a period of 3 days. It's resulted in a great deal of interest, a great deal of enthusiasm, excitement about what other tech companies might actually be going in for, because there are a couple which are lined up. Earlier today, I spoke to the CEO of the NITI Aayog, Amitabh Kant, who's been watching these developments very, very closely indeed. Mr. Kant, my first question to you, there's a lot of enthusiasm about what's happened with Zomato and the IPO. What sort of boost does this give to tech companies, to the tech space in India?
Well, a very big one. 2021 has been a record year of unicorns and IPOs. Zomato went public, and they went public with their 9,375 crore IPO. And their growth story has been phenomenal. Starting in 2008 to now, they are now present in 10,000 cities across 24 countries. So their success is truly inspirational. And next to follow will be Paytm, Nykaa, Pepperfry, Flipkart. And I think IPOs will drive our startup revolution. But the important thing is that what we are seeing is that Indian startups are now raising money in Indian markets from Indian public. And what it really truly demonstrates is that this is a very, very unique time to be a startup in India. It demonstrates that we have a very extremely vibrant startup landscape. From having a handful of tech companies now to thousands of innovative new ventures, India's startup ecosystem has grown immensely. I think the digital ecosystem has grown enormously. And what we are witnessing today is really a massive opportunity, bringing together entrepreneurial prowess and the leveraging of technology in India. And, this vast scale of data and the massive digital footprint which India is creating will lead to technological leapfrogging in the years to come.
But tell me this, Zomato has been loss-making. In fact, there was a quote in the Economic Times which says, it quotes an analyst, and it says, we believe that Zomato is very richly valued at $9 billion, given its status as a company that is yet to make a profit. So the question is Zomato a bit of a bubble in terms of its valuation and the way it's been received?
So the valuation, you look at it, is for many, many years, many of these tech startups, for them, acquisition of customers, penetration of markets is critical. We are in a digital world where they are acquiring consumers. Zomato, for instance, has, actually acquired a lot of consumers across over 10,000 cities, across 24 countries. It has a future expansion plan. And therefore, what people are looking at is not losses now, but how it will expand and grow in the future in the coming years. And that's what's happened to many of the digital tech companies, including Amazon and many other companies. Look at even a company like Reliance, a big company like Reliance Jio, and the kind of foreign direct investment that it attracted. People are looking at not now, but what it will do in the future and how it will actually transform the food delivery system, how it will transform the digital ecosystem, and how it will become a major restaurant aggregator. They've seen how it has made a massive growth process during the COVID period. Sure. And all this, it is really a story of our food service industry. They're seeing that it's constantly on an upward growth trend.
But sir, their revenues were actually down during the COVID period as compared to the year prior to that. It's not as if they've profited during COVID.
Everyone got disrupted during the COVID for a while, but people are looking at opportunity for the future, and that's why they're investing.
All right.
And this is the trend not only in India, this is a trend across the world. People who are putting in money, they're major investors. You know, I mean, actually Zomato raised money prior to their IPO from big investors. They raised about 4,800 crores from major investors one day before they went public. And they know where they'll put their money. They won't put their money if they aren't sure that Zomato is something dramatically big in the years to come.
Sure. So let me ask you this. Would you agree that this is an IPO which isn't really there for retail investment, but investors with a much larger appetite for a risk? People, for example, who might have an investment horizon which is long-term in mind?
Yeah, both, because the day before they went IPO, they were able to raise resources from some of the biggest investors in the world prior to that, close to about $4,800 crores, and then they raised over 9,700 crores in the next day through an IPO. And therefore, what it demonstrates is that their ability to get established investors into it. And that's a big one. That's a big one.
Okay. So at the same time, you know, I mean, we're talking about this particular space with tech startups, but at the same time, our economy has been faltering. There's sluggish growth, rising unemployment. Analysts are worried about, you know, a stock market bubble that could be bolstered by, you know, these high value tech companies now going public. So again, is it a bit of a bubble outside the reality of our economy? For example, inflation and the other factors which affect so many more and is a reality in our economy right now.
Yeah, so Vishnu, on this inflation front, let me first put this into a perspective that my view is that inflation right now is on account of severe global scenarios. It's because of pulses, it's because of a few items where there is a shortage of global supplies, and that has had an implication on India. I'm quite sure that inflation will come down. Several measures have already been taken by the government of India to ensure adequate supply of oil and pulses, and therefore inflation will come down. And I'm quite sure that as far as many of the indicators, including, you know, FDI inflows is concerned, that remains at record level. We are heading for a high digit growth this year. And I'm quite sure that as the COVID kind of mellows down in the country, we will continue to grow and expand in the days to come.
So just, you know, on fuel, you know, I understand that fuel prices are regulated by the market. That's obviously a big factor now in defining where we are economically. I understand that fuel prices are regulated by the market. It's not regulated by the government for the last many years. But the rationalizing of taxes, whether at the state level or the center level, states say the center needs to take the lead. And, you know, there's the vice versa argument as well. Do you not believe that the tax structure on essential fuels must be rationalized? If we are talking about the broader economy at this stage, you know, that needs to be fixed. Otherwise, input costs go haywire elsewhere.
There's a dilemma before the governments. One of the key challenges is that if you want to get into high trajectory of growth and if you want to really revive India's economy, one of the key challenges will be how do you accelerate the pace of infrastructure? How do you spend more and more? And to my mind, it's a story of growth and revival of India's economy and taking it onto high trajectory growth will be a story of putting more and more resources into good quality infrastructure. And the focus has to be on creation of really top-class infrastructure, which will lead to job creation. And that will lead to construction getting revived. And therefore, the dilemma is that the government needs to raise resources. And government, if it does not have resources, will not be able to put resources into infrastructure. And therefore, that is a choice which the government will have to make in due course. If there are, certain cesses is giving resources, because the government has been able to provide food supply to 800 million people. And during this period, it has ensured that the Manrega program goes on effectively in rural areas. That during the COVID, it took a series of measures in terms of restructuring and carrying out reforms in the Indian economy, but it ensured that the lives of people are adequately insured, the livelihoods are adequately insured through food supply. But now, as you get into reviving India's economy, top-class creation of infrastructure will be critical. The government will need resources. If it does not do that, it raises money from the market. And once it raises money from the market, it crowds out private investment. And you need private investments also in the Indian economy. Okay. And therefore, I think there is a choice to be made right now. And therefore, the government is focusing more on infrastructure creation.
But, all of these economic revival plans you speak about is ultimately linked at this stage to India defeating COVID. And that is closely linked to our vaccination policy and the availability of vaccines. How closely are all of these plans that you're talking about, the big infra spend, or any forecast that you have of the state of the economy linked with India successfully vaccinating all adults by the end of the year?
So the Prime Minister has gone on record. You've had Dr. Paul saying that we'll have adequate vaccination by the end of the year, by December. He's given the figures. We are quite confident that given the existing supply of vaccines through both Covishield and Covaxin, and also with Zydus Cadila coming in, and also the manufacturing of Johnson & Johnson and other vaccines by eBiological, etc., we'll have adequate supply to ensure that there may be some imbalance in this month of July, but August onwards, there'll be adequate ramping up. And by December, we'll be able to ensure full vaccination. By December on,
sure,
we'll be able to ensure full vaccination to the people of India.
Well, let's hope that that comes true, and let's hope that states get the doses they say they're not getting at the moment. Supply is one thing, getting it to states is so important. But thank you so much, sir, for joining us, sharing your views on this very impressive and interesting IPO space as far as Zomato and other tech companies are concerned. We'll take a short break.